if you haven't watched part 1 of the What is M7 Sports, click on this link right here and it'll take you to part 1. Watch that one, come back and watch part 2. It's going to be a good one. Today's guest is Jim Christiana. He's the CEO of M7 Sports. How you doing, Jim?
Hey, how's it going, Bill? Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for doing this. This is really cool, and congratulations on that new facility. I know a lot of people are excited about it in Beaver County. Everyone might not know about it, so if you want to explain maybe some of the features that are in it.
Yeah, so the first building, phase 1, is about a 35,000 square foot indoor sports facility comprised of 3 courts that'll be basketball and volleyball, and then almost 10,000 square feet of indoor turf with 2 indoor batting cages, and then some flex space for some co-tenants that are in the sports fitness industry in order to broaden our offerings to our athletes that we bring in. And then the next piece of it is there's going to be a second building built that could allow us to put another 80,000 square feet of indoor facility space right next to it, which we envision a 6-lane indoor track, 300-meter indoor track with almost a full field turf field, so 120 yards long and almost the full regulation width of an outdoor field. So yeah, it's a really, located just 12 miles from the airport, highly visible right along 376.
It's right there. You can see it easy. Yeah.
It's a lot of, I'd say the majority, almost all of the excitement is around the fact that there's just not enough facilities in the area for our kids, and parents having to travel substantial distances to get their kids just to practice, let alone all the tournaments and events. So it really has been just amazing feedback and excitement.
Yeah. When do you expect it's going to be open? Because I know you're still doing a lot of work inside of it.
Yeah, our target date has been June 1st all along, so that we can maximize the summer break for kids. Most of it, if not all of it, could be done by then. That's what we're shooting for.
That's good. On behalf of Beaver County, I want to thank you for taking the initiative. You hear a lot of people talking about dreams and we should do this or we should do that. But, you were the guy that made it happen, and I just wanted to thank you for doing that for the kids.
It's my pleasure.
The one thing that I wanted to get in a little bit deeper is that the facility piece of it is only a small piece of what you guys are doing. I wanted to offer this stage for you to kind of dive deeper into the agency side of M7, because I think that's what's more important with what you guys are doing. Yeah.
So you're right, though, Bill, that the facility is it's going to be a successful business in and of itself. I mean, it's going to have quite a bit of transactions associated with it, but I'm not a transactional guy, and I can embrace that's it's going to be a good business on its own. But the reason that we're doing it is because it's an extension of what we really have been doing all along. Mm-hmm. Which is to bring together athletes and brands and put them together. And the reason that that's so important in today's economy is because that athletes have an opportunity to take their individual brand and promote it on social media like we've never been able to do before. Like when I was playing soccer growing up or in college, right? These things didn't exist. NIL was not around, was not legal. And the social media has just changed it. And so what we want young people to do is we want them to recognize the opportunity they have, and we want them to discover their brand and their identity, and then be able to promote it to the world. Mm-hmm. And what the facility allows us to do is to bring together in the same location every day brands, sponsors, companies, sports companies that recognize the opportunity with sports and put them together with the athletes and training in the facility. The athletes that we've been working with, one of the struggles we have in order to capture the content, the video, the photography, is the lack of facility. Right?
Right,
I mean, the
right.
reality is we live in a climate that is not a year-round climate, which means we need to have the facilities in order to deal with that, and we just don't. So I do think our facility is going to be different in the sense that of all the other great facilities that are around, it's unusual. I mean, almost non-existent. We are one of one in the ability to go work on your game and work over your crossover dribble, but then go up and film an NIL spot, or work on your brand, or work on your delivery on scripts and presentations, to work on your logo, to work on your recruitment video, to get PR and media relations training in literally the same facility that you train in.
Right, right.
That omni approach is what we're trying to do for athletes.
The NIL, the NIL, all that stuff is changing rapidly,
Yeah.
on a day-to-day basis. And I know that you have a lot of talented, dedicated professionals helping you through all of this. I don't know if you want to talk about them a little bit, because I know you got some key players on your team that that really help things out.
Yeah, they're amazing, and one of the reasons that as kind of leader of the team, I can be as aggressive with opportunities like the building project and like our e-commerce platform that we're creating, is because I have an amazing team that is relationship driven. They're talented. They recognize the opportunity. Most of them have lived it, being involved in sports growing up. And in fact, one of our agents, she's one of the youngest female agents in the country. She gets it, and she gets that it's about the relationship. It's more sustainable. That's the part that will last and will be a part of their career and our company long beyond their playing days on the field.
Right.
And having a team that sees it and gets it, it means the world to me.
And you got to tell me this: do you have a licensed pilot for drones?
Yeah, we have two.
Two licensed pilots. Okay.
Yeah.
That just blew my mind. Like the stuff that you have, now, like with my daughter, when I helped her with the recruiting piece of it, I would do some of the recording and highlight films and stuff like that. But you have all the professionals doing it, which it's just amazing how you guys pull everything together.
Being integrated in a one-stop shop or destination, because again, we truly pride ourselves on being that trusted partner, and it's tough in this day and age when you're getting services from here or here or here. The other thing that sets us apart is we don't take any commission on our NIL deals that we put in place. And people say, well, how do you make money? How do you that's got to be that's a gimmick. It's really not. It's that we do so much along the process that when we get to the end of the deal, it's really irrelevant, and all that money really should go to the athlete.
Right.
As somebody that has been intimately involved in contract law and understands contract law, when it comes to the contract negotiation and the endorsement deal, as we used to think of it, that's one small piece of it. I'm not downplaying it's not an important piece of it, but when you look at everything along the way of a brand, logo, photography, video, website, the email, just the ability to communicate effectively, all of those pieces are really important too, not just negotiating the contract at the end. But so much of the rest of the market only focuses on the NIL deal. And what happens, Bill, is then they start to cut corners and they start to look past people. When your compensation is dictated by the percentage of the endorsement deal or the NIL deal, then you start headhunting. You start looking for only the biggest contracts, the biggest deals, only certain sports. Typically, it's mostly all men that generate
Football
those.
and basketball. Yeah.
Exactly. And so then they start looking past women's sports. They start looking past the Division III athlete that's really talented on social media and creating good content. We don't want to look past anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And these brands really don't care how good you are. They just want to know how popular you are. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. You have this on, you call it, it says athlete first promise. Is that a
Yeah.
lot of what you already talked about with?
It is, but there's a little bit more to it. So, two of the things that we're really involved in is the recruitment process. So our ideal client, we start the relationship in about ninth or 10th grade. We start looking at their owned media assets, their social media, any of their game footage, and we start to kind of work through their marketing portfolio, so to speak, to build it up to when the interest is at its peak. We want to be a part of that process, right? It's not that we won't start working with somebody that's later on. It's just the later on in the process, it's harder for us to kind of shape,
catch up.
yeah, and where we're headed. So now, why is that really important? Is because one of our key tenets of our athlete first promise is to set reasonable expectations. There are a lot of agents and consultants and quote unquote marketing reps that are telling athletes, "Oh, I talked to Division I teams about you. I talked to Kentucky last week, and they're really interested." And all they're just feeding them some dopamine in order to keep them interested in paying. When really they're sometimes they're just not Division I caliber
Right.
athletes.
Yeah.
So one of our big things about our athlete first promise is if we're true to who we are about putting that athlete and their mental, emotional, physical well-being at the center of everything, setting reasonable expectations is one of them. Not taking a percentage of the deal is another. When they need a solution, we don't say, "Oh, we're going to outsource it." Like, we show up with the camera, and we don't get out over our skis. And that's really important. It's not that there aren't athletes in other parts of the country that may need help and may need our service like ours, and we may even do it. But our focus is going to continue to remain of Western Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And that's another one that we are a nationally recognized creative firm, but we're never going to lose our hometown roots.
Okay. What is the M7 Sports student athlete marketing platform?
So that's our Omni platform, which is where we give each student athlete we work with, they get their owned media assets. So they're going to get the tools in order to engage their audience. And not everybody needs active management. Sometimes they just need, the tools. Give me the tools, I'll go build, the mousetrap or the sandbox, right? So we give them the tools, and then they go out and we work with them on how to effectively engage their target audience, which is generally recruiters, coaches, administrative, admissions offices, right? So all of that is on our Omni platform. And then there are some that are Omni elite athletes that actively want and need management of NIL deals and offerings, the recruitment process. So there's a lot of parents that want social media monitoring for their kids, just to make sure that they're paying attention, that there's a team in place monitoring it. And so our Omni platform is what we offer to all of our student athletes.
Okay.
Our strategy is there's three sides to a triangle for effective marketing. One is the verbal, and that could be the written verbal, that could be the spoken verbal, but there's a verbal component, the words, the tone that you use. The second piece of it is the visual. So creating the best visual elements that we can, whether that's the professional headshot or whether that's the action shot, whether that's the hype video. It's what usually gets a lot of the attention.
Right.
But it is an important piece, right? But the visual without the verbal is not effective. And that third piece is the strategy, right? We can create the best visual and verbal campaign, but if our target audience doesn't see it, then we've completely missed the opportunity and we've wasted probably somebody's money.
Okay.
And so we work with them on all three of the components. What's the visual element? What's the verbal element? And what's the strategic element to make sure we're getting our message in front of our audience? And so that's what we teach them. That skill set and that ability to effectively advocate for yourself and market yourself to decision makers is something that's going to be enormously beneficial for them for the rest of their
Down the
lives.
road, yeah. Just for,
And it's getting harder and harder in the digital age
yeah.
when we're more efficient communicators, when we use emojis, when we use half words, and all of it's good. But we got to be able to read our audience and to effectively communicate with our audience.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. You're building these kids, their following and all that stuff. Like, what is your end goal with the nil stuff? Like, how do you implement that for the kids as far as getting brands or deals or whatever is out there?
You create convergence. I mean, we're bringing from our agency side and actively trying to fill the bucket of brands that invest in influencer marketing, brands that are trying to reach the younger generation, bringing those together with the athlete. And then the biggest thing that we see is the need to help mentor the athletes in a way that they're ready to capitalize on it. So what's our end goal? Our end goal is that by the time they get to college, and the sooner the better, but really it's by the time they get to college, they are going to be able to be more self-sufficient in creating content that those brands want to pay for. And if we can help do that, then we've accomplished the goal.
Okay. The one thing that changed was the PIAA just recently with their rules. How did that change your vision or focus with how you handle the high school athletes through this journey?
It expedited the need to get into the market because why I say that is just like in college, the piranhas, those that are trying to take advantage of the situation, that maybe don't have the best intentions, they are going to capitalize on that industry. So we definitely expedited our go-to-market strategy. It has the difference of what the PIAA did too was they took a very different approach than colleges and universities and the NCAA took. They took approach where all of this NIL stuff must be completely removed from the member school, the public school district, the home school district. And the consequences of screwing it up are really high. Like that's what I keep preaching to districts is, make sure your athletes know what they can wear, what they can say, where they can shoot the content, what is permissible. The school district should want to know what athletes have NIL deals so they can be on the lookout. So there needs to still be some communication, which I do think the colleges have done right. So like what our athletes at Virginia Tech, for instance, or Temple, their compliance department's legit, and like they're not letting us or brands get away with anything. And so being involved in the process, at least from a compliance standpoint, is not all bad. Now the PIAA has taken a little bit much different approach right out of the gate, but I think over this the next few months, as this starts to take shape, we've got to be really careful to make sure that we're protecting these athletes and their eligibility.
Okay.
And we need somebody who, these athletes and their families need somebody who can not just understand the law, but who can actually help create content and be a part of the process in a way that protects them.
Okay. Talk a little bit about your background, what makes you special in this role.
Well, it is kind of weird in the sense of like the NIL piece of it is like it's public policy, right? It's legislation, it's regulation, it's really wonky, down in the weeds from a policy standpoint. People in our state capital creating policy that then the schools and the athletes kind of have to adhere to. I mean, that's what I was used to for 10 years as a state legislator. I was very much a part of that process. And to be honest, I enjoyed the public policy aspect of the job. But I understand the consequences of creating good public policy and then, putting enforceable public policy in, and then ultimately the consequences. So that aspect of it, I'm pretty aware of. Then the marketing piece of NIL, the creating the content, the visual, the verbal, the influencer thing. I've been doing that since I left the legislature. And even before I was in the legislature, that marketing piece has become probably more of my expertise than my last life. And then the third piece is the contract law piece. And, I graduated from law school, and I understand the nuances of offer acceptance and consideration, and having to create binding contracts. I understand that piece. So really, when you look at the three elements, I've been, in my 39 years of life and 18 years of being professional, I've been involved in all three of them, and they all three have kind of converged right here at this moment to be, what is the new agent for athletes.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
The one thing that concerns me is, I'd say it's probably my number one concern, whether it's a coach, whether it's a school district, an AD, a superintendent, a school board member, a parent, or an athlete, when they hear this new change and this new phenomenon, I think we're wired in today's age to just kind of run from it, to just push back, put our head in the sand, pull the sheet over our head. And I think that's the worst thing to do, because it's not going anywhere. And we call this NIL, but really it's just an extension of influencer marketing. And if anybody's on social media for 10 minutes, you know what that is. Mm-hmm. And that's what NILs are. It is product placement. It's getting paid to take a drink on your social media account, right? It's paid product placement. And so it's a great opportunity, actually, for the next generation to make real money, whether that's creating 10 reels that takes them 45 minutes, if that, to make, a few $100. Like, right. It's the new part-time job for athletes. It could be commission, it could be free products, it could be, free equipment, it could be free food. It's a lot of different things. Yeah. But it's the new advertising. I mean, it's the way companies are advertising and business development. It's an opportunity for the programs too. I mean, if you're a travel softball team, there's a great opportunity because school districts can't touch it, right? They've chosen not to be associated with it. I think that's a great opportunity for travel teams to kind of be the expert in the room and to be the brand partner as well, and to bring in maybe NIL deals for all of their team.
And that could be a new way of fundraising too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. Is how can the community help support your athletes? Like what could we do as a community?
I think if you have a retail brand, by partnering with an agency like ours, I think makes a lot of sense. We actually just landed a new one locally. There's a great local restaurant. And and these companies think, well, that's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. No, it's really not. Like these are lower dollar campaigns, but they are highly effective. Not to mention they help support a local athlete in your community. Yeah. Right. So I think if you have a local retail company or service offering, and you're looking at putting some advertising dollars behind it, and you want to see whether or not it could take off or help, I would say to reach out to someone like M7 Sports or to one of your programs, and so that you can get hooked up with some athletes to see if it generates an ROI, which, the studies show for every dollar that's invested in influencer marketing, it has a 5x return. So there's a pretty good chance that it's going to be a worthwhile investment, not to mention the ancillary benefits of helping our local athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for doing this, and I'm glad that we're partners. I'm excited about that as well. I was looking for a sponsor or a partner to put on the scoreboard during my games, and when I found out what you guys did, I just thought it was a perfect fit for me. So
it's a perfect fit for us, and thank you for what you're doing.
Yes, no problem, and likewise with you. So
thanks, man.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Look forward to it.
Okay. Bye-bye.